Hi, I am Hui Rising. I'm here to share my personal journey of spiritual awakening. I have been contacted by some of my former students to become a spiritual coach or mentor for them. I want to kind of just share my personal life stories as a way of giving everybody an overview so that I can solicit topics of interest from those of you who would like to have a mentor or coach on your own journey, so that I can better craft the materials that could be helpful for you. So I had a near-death experience back in 2007. It turned out to be a DNA activation event. In fact, I was born with lots of energetic bumps over my face and my head. And then during my near-death experience, I had this sensation of being overheated, kind of like being baked in an oven, and felt surrounded by a golden orb. And I was gone for 3 days, didn't go to the bathroom, didn't eat. After I woke up, my face, my eyelids, and my ears were swollen, twice as big and hot and burning. It's almost like I had a burn mark, which is characteristic of people who were abducted by aliens. So during the 3 days when I was gone, I went back to a place of golden liquid light. It felt home. It was like I was back home for vacation, but the home had a big theater, and I was, looking at multiple screens of different shows going on, and within the theater there's a diverse array of species. Some of them were humanoids and others were non-humanoids. And I remember that I was given a question about which script, which character, which show did you choose? And I remember how I didn't want to go back to school, but then I was told that it's time to go back to the school. So it's almost like I was in a theater school, and I went home for the summer vacation, and then I was asked to go back to the school again. So after I came back, I went to see over 30 some doctors, and there was no consistent diagnosis. The cardiologist said that I needed to have a triple PET surgery, and endocrinologist said that I had hormonal imbalance, polycystic ovary syndrome, and gastroenterologist said I had IBS, colitis. So there were just all kinds of different diagnoses, and the only thing that seemed consistent was that my IgE level was 8 times higher than normal. So I was out of wits and decided to go see 3 alternative doctors. And I went to a naturopath. He basically asked me what God meant for me, and at the time I was very scientific. I only believed in what's tangible, so I basically said I didn't know what God meant, and I'm a very scientific person. He just simply said that I needed to figure out what God meant for me, otherwise I would never be healed. And specifically, he asked me to go find a female form of divine. And I went to a Chinese doctor, and she said something similar about how I needed to go find my mother. But my mother lives in Taiwan, and it's really strange that she meant it as if I have not met my mother, and is still looking for my mother. And then I talked to an Ayurvedic doctor. He also mentioned something about looking for the mother, finding the mother, but he told me the mother is in India. So I started doing Ashtanga yoga regularly on a daily basis, starting January 1st of 2007, and pretty much within 2 months, I started to have blur vision and fainting spells, and so my body reacted to the yoga pretty dramatically. And after I had the near-death experience, I went back to yoga classes, and my teacher saw me. He had this big smile on his face, as if I accomplished something really important, and he just simply suggested that I went to India to study with his teacher. So at the time, I basically triangulated suggestions being given to me. And whenever I heard something 3 times, I just kind of considered that, a direction from the universe. So I packed up all my stuff and I left with the backpack and my sandals. My face, eyelids, and ears were still swollen and burning. So I just decided to go to India to take my own healing path to study yoga. The moment I entered the yoga shala, my teacher's teacher, Guru Chi Patapi Joyce, who is the founder of Ashtanga Yoga, and his grandson, who was his successor, they both just kind of looked at me above the top of my head and all the way up to the sky with their mouth wide open. It's almost like there's something going all the way up to the sky from the top of my head. I also went to a yoga philosophy class, and the teacher looked at me the same way, and he was able to just look at the area above my head and knew exactly what questions that I had in mind, and then he answered my questions without me asking them. At the time, he gave me a book. It was written in Sanskrit, published by the Maharishi University. It was about the neurophysiology, or the subtle energy body, the neurophysiological correlates of higher consciousness. So I was looking at nadis and sheaths and chakras, but then kind of seeing them within the context of human anatomy, what's tangible. So basically, it was mapping the energetic infrastructure with the actual neurophysiological infrastructure of the human body. So I was just simply drinking the energy of the book because I couldn't really understand Sanskrit completely. But at the same time, I went to a breakfast place and I met a few yogis from the shala, and people started to talk about the mother from India, particularly the mother from Oroville. And at the same time, I met somebody that was also going to Oroville, so we ended up going there together. And the whole experience of being there felt like being in a surreal movie. Things that were not supposed to happen in the 3-dimensional time and space continuum happen. For example, I was staying at a hotel, and one of my shoes was taken, so the couple that ran the hotel then gave me a pair of new sandals, and when I went to an appointment to meet with someone, this person ended up wearing the exact same sandals. And then he invited me to stay on the second floor of his house. So then when I was there were 2 terraces kind of flanking the room I was in. And I always saw 2 peacocks. One was turning clockwise, the other one was turning counterclockwise. And I thought I was hallucinating, but when I went downstairs to try to see if the peacocks were still there, they were gone. But I saw peacock feather stuck into my motorbike, which was a piece of evidence to show that they were there. And when I was going to my yoga classes in the morning, a white dog and a black dog would just come out of nowhere. And one would go in front of me, the other one would go behind me, and they would just take me to the yoga class. And after my class, they would show up again and walk with me back to where I was staying. And things happen sort of at least 3 times to give me a specific message. So I saw 2 birds coming when I was visiting a friend running a translation agency, and these 2 birds knocked into the sliding door and dropped dead. And I met 2 people of the same name, and a friend was setting me up to go to the mother's ashram, and then she said 2 friends were coming and they were going with me, and it turned out to be identical twins from Germany. So there were just incidents that helped me understand sort of the concept of 3 in 1, the coming together of polarities that are also mirrors of identical essence, and how a 3rd dimension was born out of that synthesis. So there were messages like that being conveyed through really tangible experiences. And at the same time, I was asked by multiple people, at least 3 people, to remember who I truly was. And then one time, one of them asked me to turn around and look at the portrait behind me. So that was the portrait of the mother, Mira Alfasa. She was a French woman born to Egyptian and Turkish parent. She left Paris for India to study with Sri Aurobindo, the founder of Integra Yoga. And then she ended up staying and became the spiritual partner and founded Orville. So people were suggesting that I was her reincarnation, and I was a very scientific person, and I wanted to use my own life experiences as data and evidence to test the hypotheses and to validate it. So what ended up happening was that some people gave me goosebumps and tingling sensation, but others didn't. So I hypothesized that perhaps the ones that gave me these different sensations were the ones that had met the mother in their past life, perhaps through quantum entanglement, which does get carried to a different lifetime through the soul. Then I met 2 really young women, and I didn't think that they were old enough to have met the mother, who passed away in 1973. And it turned out that they were babies right before the mother passed away, and the mother used to hold them quite a bit. So I'm sharing this story because I noticed how during the first stage of my spiritual awakening, there's a period of integration for the soul fragments, which are essentially different past lives that we have had. And then through the integration of different past lives, we begin to triangulate our life purposes out of all these different past lives to be able to find that unifying theme in our soul mission. So this triangulation exercise is a great way to help us sort of wake up to the soul purpose that we sign up for. And I later on discover a particular framework that seems to be the most validated hypotheses when I'm sort of backtesting different spiritual frameworks using my own life experience since my near-death experience. So this particular framework basically suggests that there are 5 harmonic universes. The first one essentially is our lower 3 energy centers, our root center, our sacral center, and our solar plexus center. So these are basically the way we interact with the three-dimensional time and space continuum. Then the second harmonic universe is composed of the fourth, the fifth, and the sixth centers, the heart center, the throat center, and the third eye center. So the heart is where the soul dwells. And it's through the heart that we begin to remember the different fragments of our soul and its mission. As I was back testing the different places where I was able to remember more of my past lives, I realized that astrocartography is a very scientific tool for identifying locations that are relevant to that awakening of the soul. So I will put a link in the description for you all to go get your own astrocartography chart and map. So there's a relocated natal chart that basically shifted everything in your original natal chart based on your original birthplace to a particular location, whether you had lived there briefly or traveled there as a pilgrim. It'll show you how the energy is different there as applied to the 12 different areas of your life. So I really want to point out the IC sun line as a critical energy line for you to explore if you are hoping to remember your past lives and be able to kind of triangular among these different lives to find out what your soul purpose is. So kind of fast forward from there, I want to talk about how I then transcend the second harmonic universe into the third harmonic universe. That's where I had direct experience with my Oversoul family members. So these are essentially the spiritual council members of every single soul. So they're archetypes, but in personified forms. For me, I was particularly fortunate to be able to experience them as humans. For example, I encounter Mother Mary, Jesus, Guan Yin for the following years after I kind of had a more holistic picture of my soul's mission. And I met them face to face. They became more and more tangible, and I was able to experience them more and more as actual human interactions as my own frequency begins to rise into their frequency band. So it's almost like tuning into a radio channel. Once you're able to tune into their channel, you can experience them more tangibly as human. So once again, the astrocartography framework gives me a sense of where I seem to have more interaction with my soul family members, Oversoul family members, face to face in human forms. So I would definitely encourage you to look at your Neptune ascendant energy line, because that's pretty much where I had encountered all my Oversoul family members. So essentially, it's a energy line that allows your own vibration to unblock itself transharmonically through all the overtones, doing like a frequency sweep up and down, so that you can tune into the frequency band of any of your Oversoul family members and to get more direct guidance that way. And I'm just gonna leave it at that for today. I know it's already a bit overwhelming, and I will love to get a sense of what topics you're interested in, and be able to kind of hone in on these topics and give you more specific information. All right. Thank you for spending this time with me, and I look forward to talking to you again. Have a wonderful day.